You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Coming to you live from the Verified Lounge, it is the latest episode of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. Welcome, Sam. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I am wearing my embroidered smoking jacket with my name on it, which I not my name on it, my Twitter handle on it, mind you.
At Sam Dykstra MILB.
Yes.
The check mark embroidered into it.
Yes. Which
they're velvet. They're lovely.
If nobody ever thought I was me and I was a fake account, now we know that's not possible. Twitter has verified me that I'm actually myself, which I don't put too much of my self-worth into my social media presence. But when you get that blue check mark, you're just like, oh man, I tweeted out at the GIF this morning, felt like Pinocchio just waking up and saying, I'm a real boy. That's just basically what Twitter has bestowed upon me. They're like my Geppetto in that way, where they're just like, here you go. Here's the gift of being real, and we acknowledge that you actually exist in the world and you're not some fake account that actually tweets out real baseball news with real links to real stories that actually happen in the world.
You would be the most narrow niche fake account.
Yeah.
If you were.
Here's this thing I wrote, but I might not be real, so don't read it. It's like, oh, I guess that's.
Yeah, it'd be a little odd.
Can't say that now.
I got verified 2.5 years ago. Still have no idea how or why. And one of the best things that comes from being verified is the amount of people who will be very annoyed that you are verified and they are not. As some listeners of this show know, I have another podcast where I talk about the Colorado Rockies for some reason because I like being in pain for my whole life as a sports fan. And well, not this week. I gotta take that off this week. It's been a good week. But my co-host for that show, Anthony Masterson, I know it drives him up the wall that I'm verified on Twitter. And that's pretty fun. I will not lie to you. It's quite fun to be able to hold. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. But it's very entertaining to hold it over people who get annoyed by it.
Well, so Anthony, he does have an Emmy, does he not?
He does, yeah. He, as a member of the Fox Sports staff for MLB Whip Around, they've won a couple Emmys, and for some reason they give Anthony one of those statues. So apparently anybody can get one, and it doesn't really mean anything.
Anybody can get one of those. Anybody can get verified if you just try hard enough.
I guess heaven's easier to get into than Arizona State. So welcome into this week's episode where we'll quote obscure Simpsons episodes, and we'll talk to the newly verified on Twitter, Sam Dykstra. He is in New York City. My name is Tyler Maughan, and we'll get started on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Thanks for tuning in wherever you found us. Episode number 198. Cannot believe it. But we are getting close to our trips to spring training. I figured out timing-wise that I don't believe I'm not going to be in spring training for episode 200. I thought I was. Turns out I'll be there for 201.
Well, that's
bummed
okay.
About it.
Yeah, it's all right. Well, that just means we'll open 200 in a very, very cool way, and then we'll continue it. The next 100 will continue in a very cool way. Instead of just having one spring training spectacular that we have every year, we'll have two of them.
When you think about it, it will be the 200th anniversary of our first episode.
That's true.
200th episode anniversary of our first. Anyway, whatever. You can give us a rating and a review and a subscription. If you love this banter, if you like the way things are going so far in the first few minutes of this podcast, give us a 5-star rating, see? And you can get in touch with the show, podcast@MILB.com. Sam, now on Twitter with the checkmark next to his name, is at Sam Dykstra MILB. I am at Tyler Maughan, and we'll get started on 3 strikes for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Spring training games are underway, and the early part of the Major League spring training calendar, we get to see a whole lot of minor league prospects, and we already have some guys who are making some pretty big splashes in the beginning to spring. Fernando Tatis Jr., second-ranked prospect in all of baseball. He hit his first spring training homer yesterday. I saw Joey Bart, top-ranked prospect in the San Francisco Giants organization. He just homered today. Sam, who is standing out spring training-wise for you so far?
Yeah, I'm going to throw a couple names out there because it's been really cool to watch. And this is the first week, and we're not going to pour too much into look at so and so. They're on track for a great season because they did well in one outing here and there. But for a lot of these guys, this is their first chance to show themselves in Major League camp. Never mind just in 2019. So a couple guys that kind of stood out to me so far. Got to watch a little bit of Chris Paddock start the other day for the San Diego Padres. Speaking of which, first Major League outing in spring training camp. He talked about how his legs felt, wicked heavy in the bullpen, and then came out and it was like a normal start. And if you got to watch Chris Paddock at all last year, in his breakout year and what we ended up calling him the top starting pitcher, gave him the Milby Award for that. He looked exactly the same thing. Austin Hedges afterwards called it like the easiest game he's ever had to catch. Chris Paddock was hitting his spots. I think he blew it by Orlando Arcia, I think, as the first batter, 3 fastballs, strikeout that easy. Was throwing his plus changeup. That might be the best changeup in all of minor league baseball. Hedges was setting up on the outside corner, hitting the spots there, painting like he did. The guy has really good control, but more than that, he has really, really good command. Anytime a catcher sets up, he's going to hit that spot, and that's what he did. Saw a little bit of Forrest Whitley start. He struck out 3, didn't give up any hits, didn't give up any walks in 2 innings. Paddock right now is kind of a 2-pitch pitcher, but allows that to play up because of his control. Whitley can kind of throw the kitchen sink at you. He's going to have so many different pitches, vary it up especially well with good control as well. The command's not quite the same as it is with Paddock, but to see him be basically perfect in his first outing was really, really cool. On the hitting side, I've been watching Nick Senzel a little bit. He had a 3-hit day today on Thursday. The Reds keep saying the right things about him potentially being the opening day center fielder. A lot to watch in center field. By all indications, he's passing the early tests. Again, it's only 1 week. Not going to declare him the next Ken Griffey Jr. in center field after 1 week, but it sounds like he's doing well out there. And again, 3 hits today. Showing up with the bat the way we all expected him to do. So, if the Reds are serious about really going for it this year and intending on, letting the 25 best players be on the opening day roster, Nick Senzel is looking like a guy who is willing to play his way there and not get sent back to AAA Louisville. We'll have to keep watching that, but there was one really good interview, I think it was with C. Trent Rosenkrantz of The Athletic, in which he asked Nick Senzel, do you think you will be on the opening day roster? And he said no, because of the service time issue, in which, if he's down in the minor leagues for a couple extra weeks, they buy another year of control essentially for him. And he's kind of prepared for that, seeing what the Blue Jays are saying about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the White Sox about Eloy Jimenez. He knows what he's up against. But that's not going to stop him from having a really good spring and trying to push the issue. So he's doing that early. Michael Chavis, in the Red Sox system, the number, I think he's in the back half of the top 100. Coming off last year, he missed most of the season because with a PED suspension, kind of a lost year in many ways for him. But he's already hit 3 home runs for the Boston Red Sox. Definitely not competing for a major league spot. They have Rafael Devers at third base. They're going to try him out a little bit at second base. He's played the corners before. Where does he fit into that infield is going to be a big question. But maybe they have an opening at second base. Dustin Pedroia, Lord knows has had knee issues the last couple of years. Eduardo Nunez has kind of filled in there. Brock Holt has filled in there. If Chavis can show, plus power, or even just plus power, maybe he can kind of elbow his way in. We'll be keeping a close eye on that. But to show up in the way he has is essentially what he has to do to worm his way in there. So really cool to see from him. Nate Lowe hit a home run today to right center that I think they estimated when it stopped rolling. I should say that first. When it actually stopped rolling was at 567 feet. In the air, it was about 450, which is crazy in itself, but it hit the roof in right center in Port Charlotte and just kept going, which is really cool. Somebody who's got plus power. He showed that last year, hitting 25 plus home runs across 3 levels. Rays have a crowded infield as it is right now. They would love to see him work his way into first base. he keeps hitting bombs like that, that's not going to be an issue. Fernando Tatis Jr., as you mentioned, he hit a home run. Was really neat to see. Brian Hayes hit a walk-off grand slam. These prospects are showing up early in this first week. If you thought, they're young, they're going to be wide-eyed, they're not going to know how this is going to work, that has not happened early. We'll have to see what happens once the sample size obviously expands and a little bit more video or whatever the adrenaline kind of wears off some of these guys. But there are some really hot starts in this first week, and it's made the first week of Grapefruit League and Cactus League action really, really fun to watch from our end.
And it's only going to get better as we get into the anxiety-ridden stretches of spring training when you think, is this guy going to make my favorite team or not? So you all have that to look forward to as well. But there are some drawbacks at the early point of spring training. Strike 2 this week. Some injuries already out there. Josh James, the Houston Astros. Victor Mesa of the Miami Marlins. Mike Soroka of the Atlanta Braves already out of action for various periods of time. Sam, give us a rundown on these.
Yeah, so the thing about these is once we start playing baseball, we say it every year, injuries are going to come. Guys are ramping it up. They're starting to do a little bit more activity. These things are going to happen. We follow so many prospects as it is that injuries are going to happen. It's not a widespread issue yet. These are 3 names. Unfortunately, they're all top 100 guys, and it's unfortunate to see. I don't think any of them are worrisome for the long term, but each of them do come with their own worries, if that makes sense. Mike Soroka last week, I think it was, or earlier this week, it was announced that he was suffering some shoulder issues, and for a guy who had shoulder issues going back last year, that's why he missed a ton of time after making the Braves major league team. That was worrisome. Then news broke yesterday that he was going to start his throwing program again today, so at least he's picking back up on that. It sounds like something he hurt in the weight room, then started doing some side sessions. It picked back up again. Didn't tell the Braves about it initially. Then when he realized it came up in throwing, said hey, listen, this is something we should ease up on. Again, nothing really structural or overall long-term worrisome. But with Soroka, we're going to be watching his shoulder super closely. Again, after he missed most of the second half last year, and to have that carry into the spring is something we're going to have to keep a close eye on. Victor Mesa, this is his first spring training ever, obviously signed with the Marlins last year. He's going to be a big piece of their rebuild. He's, I think, after Sixto Sanchez, those are their only 2 top 100 prospects right now. If they want this to work, they're going to need guys like this to hit or, bloom into major league contributors. He unfortunately suffered a hamstring strain, in a spring training game, kind of pulled up lame going to first base. So he's been moved back to minor league camp. He's going to rehab there. Again, this is somebody who hadn't played baseball in a long time, at least on a competitive field, after he had left Cuba. So this was a chance for him to get back into the swing of things and see live pitching and be in a competitive atmosphere and be in not a huge stadium, but spring training stadium with people around and get back in that environment. So to see him move back to the backfield is kind of unfortunate. Again, it doesn't seem like anything's going to be that big of a worry. Don Mattingly even said we're going to make sure he is 100% and get him ready for the season and let him get out and play. So, we'll see what happens with him, but I would have liked to have seen him get more Grapefruit League action and kind of see where he is compared to AAA, AA, Major League talent. Unfortunately, we won't get to see that on the Grapefruit League stage, so that's kind of unfortunate for us. Speaking of unfortunate, Josh James, it was announced today by the Astros. He suffered a quad strain, so he is going to be out for a little bit. Again, nothing that's going to keep him from being on an opening day roster somewhere, but he was coming into the spring potentially competing for the number 5 spot in the Houston rotation. Given what he did last year, climbing 2 levels, he played AA Corpus Christi, AAA Fresno, was especially good at striking out batters because of a velocity uptick. Carried that to the major league level, got called up in September, was used as a long man and a starter, then eventually made the ALCS roster. Obviously, Houston has big plans for Josh James, and rightly so. I mean, he is now a top 100 prospect at number 62 overall, somebody who can hit the high 90s, even triple digits at times. they really wanted him to compete for that rotation spot. Sidelining him in this way is unfortunately taking him out of that competition. AJ Hinch has said he could still compete for a bullpen role potentially, but he's just not going to be ramped up in the way that they would want their number 5 starter to be. So maybe he still gets, 2-3 innings at a time as a bullpen guy, and then whoever gets that number 5 spot, whether it's Brad Peacock, whether it's Framber Valdez, if they falter or if there's another injury, okay, James is already on the roster. You plug him back into that number 5 spot, no big worry. But when I did the Steamer 600 series, he was somebody who was, according to Steamer, going to be the second best rookie pitcher in baseball this year behind Chris Paddock. All of that is off statistical analysis, not scouting reports, so kind of keep that in mind. But that kind of shows you the level of excitement that was going into Josh James's 2019 season. So to have this minor hiccup and take him out of the rotation race in that way is kind of sad and a bummer for us who want to see these prospects who have shown major league readiness get those major league chances. But now he's in a different competition for the bullpen. So hopefully he can get back on the field, throwing quickly and back into Grapefruit League action, competing for that role and carving out a different type of role than maybe he envisioned when he started spring.
And strike 3.
Yeah, strike 3. We get to throw back to you, Tyler. Again, if I was good at this co-hosting stuff, I would have led right in that.
You're the only co-host I want.
Don't tell Anthony that.
Apparently. I do have another co-host of a different show. Don't tell
again, has won an Emmy, and I have not won any of these things.
And I've made fun of him multiple times on this show for some reason. Somebody's going to rat me out.
Hopefully he's listening, I guess, just in the way that we hope everybody is listening. But no, strike 3 this week. We're continuing our farm system rankings. We're in the 3rd week of this. Next week is going to be overall, and that's going to be it. That's going to tie the bow on our farm system rankings. But for now, we did one that I kind of like. I think it's a little bit different than a lot of other places do it. We look at 21 and under talent. That's prospects who are going to be 21 years of age and below that on opening day. That's the date we have chosen for 2019. We had 3 of our writers help out on that: Michael Avalone, Andrew Batafarano, and our own Tyler Mon. It was a tri-line is what I called it, which I'm very proud of.
That was pretty good.
And the fact that we have one of the writers here on the podcast, I figured, Tyler, you should talk about that. So kind of take us through which of the systems we think have the best really young talent, not just overall talent, but young talent.
Well, let me tell you, I don't know if anybody has touched on this subject as of yet, but if you're a fan of the San Diego Padres, it seems like things are going in your direction when it comes to your minor league system. Or it's an underrated line about the Padres right now, but it seems like they did some things well. No?
Is that all you're going to – oh, okay. Yes, I agree.
No, Padres come in at number 1, obviously with a full 10% of the top 100 prospects in the minor leagues. And as noted, this story is for prospects who are 21 years old as of opening day or younger. So Fernando Tatis Jr. qualifies in that category, second-ranked overall prospect. But listen to the list behind him. Mackenzie Gore is the second-ranked prospect in that system. He's only 20 years old. Luis Arias, the middle infielder who will be paired as a double play tandem with Fernando Tatis Jr., he's 21. Adrian Morejon, the left-handed pitcher, is 19 years old. He's a Padres number 6. Arias is number 4. Of the other guys who are really under the age of 21, there are so many in this Padres system that are top 100 guys. You could list all the top prospects that are under 21 in every other system, and combined, it seems like it wouldn't even be as many as the Padres have just in that system alone. Logan Allen, Luis Patino, Ryan Weathers. Outside the top 100 overall, some names that were big names at one time and still have some shine on them, and Josh Naylor and Anderson Espinoza. Hudson Potts, the guy we talked about a couple last week, actually, in reference to the Manny Machado deal. Xavier Edwards. They're just so loaded with all talent, but especially with that young talent. The Tampa Bay Rays, though, are right behind them, and Wander Franco is the guy who leads that crowd. He still won't be 18 for another 4 days. Well, no, I guess we're in the month of February. Another 2 days. He'll be 18 on the 1st of the month, the 1st of March. And last year, at Rookie Advanced Princeton. He OPS'd over 1,000 in 61 games at 17 years old in the Appalachian League. That's ridiculous. Jesus Sanchez, Ronaldo Hernandez, Vidal Brujan, Lucius Fox. Those are some of the guys to keep an eye on in that Rays system. And then it's the Atlanta Braves at number 3. And the Braves, we've talked about how flush they are with pitching prospects. Mike Soroka, we just talked about a little while ago, but Ian Anderson, Bryce Wilson, Colby Allard, Joey Wentz. Those are just the guys on the pitching side. Christian Pache and Drew Waters on the position player side for the Braves. Toronto Blue Jays are at number 4. And we had a discussion about just how high does Vlad bring you on his own. Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, top 2 prospects, both teenagers. Beyond that, it's not quite as deep with the Blue Jays, but those 2 guys are so good that we put them into the top 5 on basically those 2 alone. The Minnesota Twins are somewhat in that same category. Royce Lewis and Alex Kirilloff are 19 and 21, respectively. They're 2 prospects. Those 2 guys, I think, alone carry that system into being a top 5 organization when it comes to this level of talent. But Brusdar Graterol is there. Blaine Enlow is there. They've got some intriguing pieces beyond those 2, and I think even though we'll be waiting on those 2 for a little while, they might step in as the next tandem that you really look at as the most exciting in the minor leagues. The back half of the top 10, the Washington Nationals, the Houston Astros, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and the Cincinnati Reds. The bottom organizations are ones that have experienced recent success. The Milwaukee Brewers check in dead last at 30th. They've got a couple of interesting prospects. Tristan Lutz, the outfielder, Bryce Turang, the shortstop, who were their first-round selections in the 2017 and 2018 Major League Baseball first-year player drafts, respectively. Where the Brewers' strengths are with older prospects, guys who are above 21 years old, Keston Hiura, Corey Ray, Zach Brown, those types of guys. The Boston Red Sox don't have a lot as far as young players go. Their most intriguing talent might be shortstop Anthony Flores, who had his season cut short by injury last year. He signed with the Red Sox in 2017. I know at the time there were a lot of people who said he was really one of the most talented players on the international market. He just hasn't played a lot. Tristan Casas, who was their first-round selection last year in the draft, fantastic power, really impressive offensive profile, but only played 2 games in the GCL, not even 2 full games, and then tore a ligament in his thumb while playing third base, diving for a ball, so he missed the rest of the season. Jay Groom, we haven't seen a whole lot out of Jay Groom as of late. He had Tommy John surgery last May, didn't pitch at all, so the Red Sox are back there as well. San Francisco Giants are at 28th, Chicago Cubs are at 27th, Philadelphia Phillies are at 26th. So kind of interesting when you look at these organizations and what a mix it is of, for the most part, really successful systems. The Phillies, a successful system. They haven't had success at the major league level as of yet, but Cubs won a World Series now just 2 years ago. Giants won 3 out of 5 World Series in the early part of the decade. Red Sox World Series champions. Brewers were within a win of the World Series last year. There's just not a lot young in those systems right now. So that kind of what stands out most among these groups.
Yeah, and I think that's something that kind of carries into, when we do our overall prospect rankings, it's not anything anybody should be overly worried about right now if your team's going to finish in the bottom 5, just because your organization has decided to spend prospect capital on major league talent. That's a big thing. And when you do have major league success, that means you get a lower draft pick as well.
Right.
And that's, you're not going to be able to get the Royce Lewises of the world necessarily in that way. So, that's basically what we're looking at here, is just because there's not a lot of young talent now, it's not necessarily worrisome for the near future. It could be for the long-term future. But if you're set up well with a core at the major league level, and that's not something we are considering, we're not considering major leaguers who are 21 and younger here, then your organization should be fine. So just kind of a more fun way of looking at this than maybe just pitching, maybe just hitting. What is the long-term success of your organization going to be? And there's a little bit of preview of overall for next week, but also maybe the farm system rankings in the years to come. Once some of this older talent graduates, is this what the farm system rankings are going to look like this time next year? You'll have to compare.
And that is 3 strikes for this week's episode of the show before the show. We do have one cool foul ball to get to, and that is an announcement today from the Salem Red Sox, who have announced that for the 2019 season, they will be the first team in major or minor league baseball history to have an all female broadcast booth. Melanie Newman, last year the number 2 with the Frisco Rough Riders, the AA affiliate of the Texas Rangers in the Texas League. Melanie's moving over to Salem. There she will join maybe the best named broadcaster in the minor league, Susie Cool. Susie's been in Salem for a little while, and so those two will be the first all-female broadcast booth in the minor leagues. They will join just a handful of women in minor league baseball. Kirsten Karbach, who was fantastic. I got a chance to work with her last year at the Women's Baseball World Cup. She's moved up from Clearwater, where she's been with the Threshers for the last few seasons. Kirsten's taken over with the AA Reading Fightin' Phils. She was 6 seasons in Clearwater and now has moved up to AA. Emma Tiedemann will be back with the Lexington Legends this year, her 2nd season there. And Jill Gearin has been named the broadcaster of the Visalia Rawhide, their newest voice, the Class A Advanced affiliate of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So this is really, really cool news. And just maybe a little preview, there may be a story coming to the site on this broadcast booth. Just a suggestion. It may happen. Those two will actually not call a game together until April 23rd. Melanie, I don't intend this to sound as a humble brag, but Melanie's resume is the only resume that makes my resume look like I haven't done anything. Like, I've moved around a ton and chased a bunch of weird jobs. I work a bunch of weird jobs right now. Melanie's the type of person I'm like, are you human? Do you run on batteries? Like, she does so much. Right now, she accepted this job while she's in North Carolina working the ACC swimming championships on television. Like, she does so much stuff. Yes. And so I'm thrilled for her. I don't know Susie Cool, but Susie, the manager of marketing and promotion, she's also been the on-field host and color analyst on Select Broadcast last year. Those two will join forces on April 23rd, which will be a road game for the Salem Sox. They will be at Potomac, which is when the Fitz is your first broadcast stop together. It's kind of there's nowhere to go but up. So there's that excitement. But congratulations to those two. It's super cool stuff. Super cool, the Salem Red Sox. And like I said, there may be a story on that coming to the site.
Yeah, no, congrats to all of those guys for their jobs, their promotions, which is really neat, the new jobs. I mean, Melanie's resume, it just kind of underlines like just how hard women have to work sometimes to stand out. But this is a job that's wholly earned on her part. And Red Sox system is always something that's followed very closely, even at a time like this. Even when the farm system is kind of down a little bit, there's still people tuning in and trying to find out what's going on in Salem and at the lower levels. So a really good opportunity for her. And, Lord knows we'll be listening in as we do with so many different broadcasts over the years. And, really exciting to see her pair up with Susie, and can't wait to see what they do together and hear what they do together.
Can you imagine how neat it was to grow up with the name Susie Cool? That's awesome. That is awesome. I don't have anything. There's nothing cool about my name. I don't get good nicknames. There's not. Whatever. So that'll wrap up Three Strikes for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Coming up, we're going to head to the Chicago Cubs organization and the second-ranked prospect there, Nico Hoerner, who joins the show from Mesa, Arizona, getting started with spring training. Nico Hoerner joins the show next. Chicago Cubs organization is where we find our guest for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. A top 100 prospect, number 100 overall, and second ranked in the Cubs organization is shortstop Nico Hoerner. Nico, welcome to the show, man. What's going on?
Not much. We just finished up today for our mini camp, and I'm glad to be talking here.
Well, awesome. So joining us from Mesa and all into the spring training routine, give us a rundown of what your first few days of all the organized stuff have been like.
Yeah, we're just getting into baseball activity here, but we were actually here for the entire month of January as well, so I got to go home for about 10 days, and now we're just getting back into BP, throwing across the diamond, and some live ABs here recently, so definitely going well.
You told us before we started recording, you guys actually did Instructional League in January, which I have never heard of. Normally, it's an October thing. Prospects will get done with the season in September and go for a few weeks of Instructs in October, but that's a really interesting change. Take me through what it was like for you guys, and has there been much discussion around the Cubs organization as to why January was the trial run, I would assume, for this year?
Yeah, so I think the biggest difference between January and October is that you're not playing games when you do it in January because the pitchers aren't built up for that yet. So from the scheduling standpoint, that's the biggest difference. But I think the overall point of it was just if you're going to be working with guys on things to improve on, they're probably going to retain it a little better if it's at the beginning of a season than right before they take 3 or 4 months off for the off season. So I don't have anything to compare it to because it was my first off season, but just the general energy around the camp was really good, and I think probably a better attention to detail overall than what you would have gotten in October.
Well, tell us about your experience. Taken with the 24th overall pick last year out of Stanford, the first Instructs experience coming out of your first minor league season. You only get 14 games in, so you get some needed time running into spring training in that January experience. What were you working on, especially at Instructs?
I think, well, to start, more than any baseball skill in particular, it's a great chance to be at the complex and to get to know the whole staff. And then we had some pretty significant changes in our in the coaching in the minor leagues. So like getting to know the hitting coordinator, infield coordinator, all that to set up those relationships for the entire year. That's really valuable stuff.
Yeah, and throughout this whole process, whether it's Instructs or even this first taste of spring training, these couple weeks in now, what has been the most eye-opening experience? Because this time last year, you were just starting games for Stanford. Now you're still building up to 100+ games for a season. What's been the most surprising aspect or most eye-opening?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a crazy 12 months for me personally, but I think just figuring out what it is that's going to let me play at my best come, August and September. I think lucky to be around some experienced people that have definitely had to tell me to stop or to slow down or to really have the long term in mind. And for me, a successful season this year would definitely be staying healthy for the entire year and getting 500 at bats to really develop as best I can, because I think that's the most important thing for me right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned your health there. Tyler talked about you playing just about a dozen games, 14 games across 3 levels last year, because in part you strained some ligaments in your elbow. What led to that injury, and what was it like coming back from it, and just the whole situation surrounding that, given that you were ready to start your pro career and then it comes to a pretty quick stop like that?
Yeah, so obviously it was a weird injury. It wasn't something that was nagging over time. I was 100% healthy on one pitch, and then I dove for a ball up the middle at short, and then I was hurt. It was as simple as that. So I missed the summer, and really the first time I've ever had a significant injury in any sport. So definitely different, but spending time here in the summer for rehab, got to know a lot of people in the organization, and then was lucky enough to be with the Cubs, and they trusted me to go play in the fall league, even though I hadn't had that much experience. So ended up being a valuable experience overall, and I feel like I'm in a good spot now because of it.
And what was the rehab process like coming back from an injury like that? I mean, elbows, we hear all the time with pitchers. You're coming back as a hitter. It was your left elbow, right? So it wasn't even.
Oh,
the
yeah,
one
that's important. Yeah, that's
right.
important to clarify.
Right. So it's not even the one you're throwing with when you are playing the infield. What kind of
UCL ligament, definitely a lot different in my left arm than my right arm as far as significance. So really not a scary injury, just disappointing timing. I had about 6 weeks off of baseball activity, and then we eased back into it for about another month, and then I was playing in the fall. So really not too much of a grueling process. So I was fortunate on that end.
Yeah, and you mentioned the fall league. One of the reasons why you are a top 100 prospect now is the way you were able to hit the ground running there. But what was that discussion even like with the Cubs to say, like, hey, we're going to put you in the fall league? Was it a choice that they gave you? Was it just an assignment? Because, again, you played a full spring at Stanford. You were basically playing baseball for 10 months last year. What was the conversation like saying, like, hey, you're coming off the injury. We want you to make up the at-bats in this league that's supposed to be an advanced league for kind of like a prospect graduating school. What was it like going into that experience, never mind performing like you did?
Yeah, I remember Jaron Madison calling me just because they actually let me go home for 3 weeks right after I got hurt. And he said, yeah, we can get you through this rehab, and you're going to play in the fall league. I was like, oh, awesome, that's great. And he said, yeah, and you'll be a priority guy playing as much as we can get you in there playing short and second, and just make the most of it, enjoy it, and build that into the next season. And I think that kind of mindset and freedom really helped me not only develop as best I can, but to perform a little bit as well. So the mindset of development definitely went hand in hand with performing well, and that's something I'll definitely take into this next year as well.
Nico, I heard a story that you got one game of action at third base. Is that right, in the AFL?
Yeah, about 4 innings.
Okay, so this is the story from what I heard, and I can't take any credit for it, even in the podcasting world, because it was on the MLB Pipeline podcast. They talked about Nico gets one game at third base. It's the Fall Stars game, the Rising Stars game in the Arizona Fall League, and the first ball that you are tasked with fielding is a line drive from Vlad Guerrero that came off of his bat at like 113 miles an hour. Is that all correct?
That's the general gist of it. Yeah, so I was lucky enough to get voted into the Fall Stars game, and replaced Bobby Dahlbeck at third. Hadn't played third probably since I was like 13, 14, but it was awesome experience. But anyways, yeah, I get in there, and first batter, of course, is pretty well-known prospect, Vlad Guerrero Jr. And I'm on the back edge of the grass, of course, getting my space, and he hits a ball that I thought I might. Instantly thought I might have a chance at, but it was 117 off the bat and ended up hitting the left field wall in the air. So definitely ended my reach, but that was definitely a loud welcoming to the position in that game. So that game in general was a really great experience. So well done. Both teams just having a lot of fun and kind of celebrating basically the end of a long season for a lot of those guys. So that was really special to be a part of.
Which is really cool about that showcase event, and it gets a great turnout, and there's great fan engagement and all that, and you do kind of get that last send off into the off season. But being able to move around a little bit positionally is obviously something that you've done a little bit so far, not just as a professional, but prior to that in college and high school and elsewhere, playing over at third, even though it was limited experience, and playing at second, in addition to your natural position at short. How comfortable are you moving around the diamond and being able, when you're not being asked to field 117-mile-an-hour line drives, how comfortable are you elsewhere?
Yeah, I think I'm very comfortable. I mean, you'd be crazy as a member of the Cubs minor league system to think you'll only play one position in your life if you ever watch a big league game. So I think that's definitely something I'll take pride on in my career. I'm gonna really own my time at short and make the most of that and play there for as long as I can and as much as I can. But I have no pride or no issue with going to second, to third, to left, to center, wherever it may be. I think I can play a lot of different positions, and I definitely don't want that to be the reason I don't move up. So I think that can be a strength of mine.
And you touched on something that's kind of interesting to me there. The Cubs took you last year in the first round, 24th overall. How much did you know about the Cubs coming in? Obviously, they're a very successful organization the last couple of years, but how much did you see, wonder right away how you were going to fit into that organization, what you were going to have to do to climb quickly? I mean, what kind of reputation did they have the second you heard your name called on draft night?
Yeah, I remember hearing my name called, and the instant graphic they showed was the recent position players they had drafted in the first round, and several of them had been college position players as well. And that's a pretty specific player that they've drafted and then had success with. So I knew from the start that I was going to be in good hands and that I could really trust the people that were making the decisions for me. And that takes a lot of pressure off as a player, because I'm in a fortunate position where, if I am healthy and I do play really well, or if I do go about my own business, I'm in an organization I think that will take care of the rest. So you don't have to play GM too much in your head, I don't think. We'll see how that pans out for a whole season. I don't know, but that's kind of the nice part of it is I can focus on my development and know that the rest will be taken care of.
And one thing that stood out so far in your young Cubs career, whether it be at the AFL or the couple of games you played last year, is you just make a ton of contact. You only struck out 4 times in 49 at-bats last year in the minors. I think you struck out only twice in your last 12 games in the AFL. I mean, it's easy to say, like, just make contact, put the ball in play, and you'll be okay, but you take that to another degree. What do you do offensively to make sure that you are putting the ball in play as much as you can, especially in today's game when there is such an emphasis on max swings, don't worry about strikeouts, get as much as you can out of contact when you do make contact? You're kind of a different player in that way. How do you build a profile like you have that is so strikeout light?
Yeah, I think that started from a pretty young age, because when I was 9, 10, 11, oftentimes I would play with kids that were older than me, and so I wasn't really physically dominant with those guys. So definitely had to learn to produce in other ways, and for me that meant putting the ball in play, and that continued all the way through high school and into my early years in college as well, where I was in a program that definitely emphasized contact a lot. But with that being said, I know that my profile as a player can expand a lot farther than just that. That's something that I will always take pride on, and hopefully will be at the heart of what I do as I build on it.
Yeah, and you mentioned changing from what you were as a college player. Stanford players kind of have this, I don't know if it's legacy or whatever you want to call it with the Stanford swing, but you hit 349 your last year as a junior, trying to carry that. I mean, you'd like to hit 349 everywhere, but what are you able to do, or what have you seen out of pro ball so far that you've identified as areas of growth, and what you can build on what you did so well in college and make it work in the pros?
Yeah, I mean, something I definitely took pride on in college a lot was progress from one year to the next, and I didn't play like I can or like I'd want to my first year and second year and even my third year in a lot of ways, but each year was a building block for the next, and hopefully that continues into this season. I think there's a lot about pro ball that will not make hitting easier, but I think will play to some of my strengths just in playing every day. And you're only playing baseball, and there's a lot more power pitchers, and I think that gets the best out of me as a hitter, rather than facing guys who are kind of throwing 85 and mixing and matching that you see a lot in college. So we'll see. I mean, people always ask, what are the minor leagues like? And I say I can give my honest answer, but at the end of the day, I've played 14 games, and the fall league's kind of its own thing. So I really have a lot of things left unanswered, but I'm just going to control what I can moving forward.
Nico, let's talk a little bit about your college time, playing at a program with a legacy, like Sam said, at Stanford. The Pac-12 has been kind of knocked in basketball and football as of late, but on the baseball side, there are still some really, really amazing programs out there. I know right now, I think in the latest top 25, UCLA is a top 10 program, Stanford's a top 10 program, and you get all these rivalries. Oregon State won a couple of national championships last decade.
Yeah.
Obviously with what USC has produced in its time, Arizona State in its time. Pac-12 baseball is a legit beast. When you got a chance to go there, especially being a California kid, just take us through what it was like being in a conference where every team you go see, you're going to be seeing those guys, the professional ranks in the years to come, and the rivalries are so great, the atmospheres are great. What was it like being part of a program like that?
Yeah, it was really special. I mean, going through the recruiting process, it was pretty much the whole Pac. It was only Pac-12 schools I was really talking to, and it was a really good, tough decision to have to make, just for that reason that every school really would have honestly been a great opportunity. One part that was great about the Pac-12 is I ended up having a lot of friends from high school that stayed in the Pac-12, and so every weekend you're seeing someone you know well from growing up, and that definitely added to a comfort level early on and to the fun of the competition as well. But like you said, there's a lot of strength in the Pac-12, and it's not I think the strengths of the Pac-12 right now are different than what it's been in the past. Like, I think the names that stand out the most are actually power hitting position players, which is a little different than in the past. I mean, you look at Andrew Vaughn and Torkelson, and those are some pretty special guys that they're producing, as well as a bunch of other names. So it'll be a really fun year to follow. I still keep in touch with my guys back at school, and they're going to have a great team as well this year. So it'll be a lot of fun.
One of the things that I loved on your Stanford bio page, there's a note that says that you volunteered at an orphanage in Peru, along with the Alameda Food Bank and the St. Vincent de Paul Community Center. And when you get into pro ball, you kind of have these opportunities to do things in the community that are, somewhat team sponsored or team oriented, but also you can take on causes on your own. Have you thought about the things that, especially now as a first round pick and a guy who signed and got a bonus coming out of school, have you thought about the causes that you want to work with? And what was the experience like, especially with this orphanage in Peru? That sounds like a pretty amazing thing.
Yeah, so that's been brought up a lot, and for me, and it was awesome, but it was only like a 1 week thing, so I don't want to hype that up too much. It's something that was like a big part of my life, but definitely something.
It's a week more than a lot of people will do.
Yeah.
Give yourself some.
Yeah, that was really special. I got to do that through my high school with my Spanish class, so that was great. And but yeah, that's a big question that I'm still trying to answer, because I didn't have that much of an off season this year. But moving forward, I know that working with kids in general is something that means a lot to me, whether it's in sports or education. And something that the Cubs have done and I've continued with is through the Children's Hospital here in Phoenix. It's really simple just to go over and hang out with kids, and that's about as easy as it gets. I know easy and meaningful. I mean, Anthony Rizzo has set a really good example of that with his foundation. And I think when you talk about role models in baseball, anyone who's making a difference like that definitely stands out. So I think the area back home for me in Oakland is a really special place, and hopefully I'll be staying there next off season. And I'll definitely look forward to finding some meaning outside of baseball.
All right, Nico, we'll end on two kind of fun place-based questions. The first one, you talked a little bit about Oakland there and your high school. As somebody who grew up in the Bay Area, specifically in Oakland, what was your team growing up? Were you a Giants guy, or were you strictly hometown with the A's?
I was definitely an A's fan.
All right, there
which
you
was
go.
definitely hard at times. That can definitely play with your heart a little bit as you get really fond of players. And they're not around there for too long.
Right. But, was there anybody in particular you looked up to growing up? Were you like a Miguel Tejada fan? Were you too young for that?
I love Miguel Tejada. I remember the exit from my house coming off of 880 was a big. It was a ad for a gas station. It said "Gas Food Tejada," and there was a picture of them dining in the food station. That was one of my favorites.
That's awesome.
But the A's have had a lot of great players over the last couple decades. I remember with Donaldson and Cespedes, that was a really fun group. Got to go to a couple of those playoff games against the Tigers, and so I hope the A's come through with the new stadium. That would really be special to see happen in my hometown, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in that area are saying that right now. All right, so we'll end on this one then. You are now a Chicago prospect, not fully been a Chicago prospect for a year, so we'll throw that out there before I ask this first. Have you had a deep dish pizza yet?
I have had deep dish pizza Chicago style, but I imagine that does not live up to the expectations of the legitimate Chicago deep dish pizza. So
are you saying you've been to like a pizzeria at Uno's or something? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's places back home that are Chicago style deep dish pizza, but that's a different thing. So I'll definitely say I have not had Chicago deep dish pizza until I've actually been there and done it. So
that's probably the safe thing to say until it's happened.
One of many things to look forward to in Chicago, hopefully.
I mean, that's okay. You haven't had it because it's not pizza, it's a casserole. Nico Hoerner is the second-ranked prospect in the Chicago Cubs organization, who you can find on Twitter at Nico_Hoerner, Hoerner is his last name. Nico, thanks so much for the time, and congrats on all the success so far, and enjoy spring training and the starts of the season wherever it finds you.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Anytime.
Promo schedules continue rolling out, and minor league baseball opening night continues to approach, and Benjamin Hill joins the show to discuss the business of baseball. Hi, Ben.
Hello, Tyler, and hello, Sam Dykstra, sitting to my left.
Hi, Ben.
Hi, Sam.
Let's get started. We're going to kick things off with the Altoona Curve, who announced a thing on Twitter that their general manager and assistant general manager, Derek Martin, or as we used to call him in the biz, D-Mart, and Nate Bowen will be living in an RV this week at People's Natural Gas Field for the next 5 nights until tickets go on sale, which is going to be your story this week, Ben. What's going on here?
Well, this is I don't want to say a common sort of minor league thing, but it is a recurring minor league thing of team executives camping out in the ballpark for some amount of time, whether it's a press box or in the case of the Curve, in an RV, which I think is the new one. But the general thing is you try to engage, especially with local media, say, hey, we're living at the ballpark, come pay attention to us. And it's a good way to just draw attention to a team before the season when you're trying to get attention. So, you're always trying to get attention if you're a minor league team, but especially with the season coming. So the timing with this is that the Curve, on Saturday, they're having Curve Fest, and that's when single game tickets go on sale. So that's a ballpark event. So Derek and Nate, the GM and AGM respectively, got in their heads to live in an RV all week leading up to Curve Fest. Why? I mean, because they can. Mountain RVs is a local RV sponsor of theirs, so they got the RV donated. I mean, not for good donated. But they got a free RV to live in for the week, and trying to get some attention with it, especially locally to drum up excitement for the tickets going on sale. And I talked to both those guys today. They were in the RV together, so it's kind of a funny group interview as they're hanging out in the RV. And it was interesting. They were just saying things like, this is Nate's first year as an assistant general manager, and he was just kind of saying, he and Derek were saying, we need to be on the same page as a leadership team. So while this is goofy and we're having fun with it, it's a good way to also get to know each other maybe in ways we wouldn't by living together. And so they're not leaving the premises of the ballpark for the entire, so 5 nights, 6 days. If they have to use the bathroom, you got to go into the stadium, or if it's at night, maybe just find the quiet place in the parking lot, men. And he said they have a team signed bat for security in case anyone tries to a team signed bat. Yeah,
they're willing to crack over somebody's head. Brian Hayes' autograph is on there, but that doesn't mean anything in case.
Right, but so don't try to break into their trailer. Any burglars listening to this, they've got a team signed bat. Getting food delivered by local sponsors, local restaurant partners every day. So it's a good way to tie that into the partners. Derek Martin, the GM, has a wife and 3 kids who are age 7, 5, and 2 or something along those lines.
I'm sure she's thrilled about this.
Yeah, he's like, oh, my wife's a saint. She gets it. But then he was like, yeah, but I know there's going to be repayment for this in some way, shape, or form that is probably not known yet. But, shout out to his wife. Her name is Abby. Your husband is living in an RV with a coworker while you are working full time as a teacher and getting your 3 young children out the door every day or whatever you have to do, while your husband and one of his coworkers are hanging out and getting food delivered in an RV. It's pretty cool.
It's something. If it was just the 2-year-old, I think there would be retribution in line. But so, what did they actually like? What are they doing to bond while they're in there? Is it just the fact of cohabitation?
Well, I think that in and of itself, I guess Derek, he's the GM, so he's, the big man on the totem pole. He gets the actual bedroom while Nate is on a pull-out couch in the RV. They don't have a TV, but they said they were watching sports videos. They had some coworkers come over last night, which would be Tuesday night, and played Texas Hold'em for a little while. That kind of thing. And they're probably having some real heart-to-heart talks too. So it's fun. You know what? Now that we're having this conversation, let's do show before the show in an RV. We'll live together in an RV for the week.
Oh, God.
And record segments and do interviews. And
slowly go crazy.
This will be great. I won't go crazy. I will love each moment.
I mean, Tyler, you've kind of already done this with Josh in Arizona.
I'm going to be busy that week, just so you guys are aware. But yeah,
we haven't even said which week it's going to be.
I'm just going to be busy that week. Josh and I have shared. We have shared close quarters. But the thing is, we're doing stuff out during the day, and when you come back to a stationary thing that's not an RV, I feel like you think you have your own space. It feels like you have your own space. An RV is just even if there's walls between you, there are not really walls between you. You're still, and for everybody's sake, God, I hope they're not visiting Texas hot dogs in Altoona before they hang out in this RV together, because that, my thoughts are with both of you. So no is what I'm saying. I will not be doing that. But if we all went on a road trip, maybe we could do that.
I think that's our version of it, is just going on the road and driving around and
that would be
forcing each other to listen to each other's music for hours at a time, or podcast choices, as it were. I think that would be the stationary aspect is the worrisome thing about it for me.
I think it's a learning, growing, bonding, and ultimately loving and empathetic experience we should definitely share.
So you would be that person in the RV, and then there would be Tyler and I in separate corners.
Not wanting the nightmare to continue.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure we'd all have fun with it. Altoona, by the way, also announced one of the best early front runners on the best bobblehead of 2019 race, which is they are doing a Newman and Kramer bobblehead with not Newman and Kramer, but with the Pittsburgh Pirates version of Newman and Kramer, who played aside each other, both named Kevin Newman and Kevin Kramer, who played aside each other in Altoona, and now have climbed all the way toward Pittsburgh, both ranked prospects, and they've got a Newman and Kramer themed bobblehead with those two guys' heads on top of the Seinfeld character's bodies. So a pretty good one.
Newman really gets the stiff on that one, I would say.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Poor Kevin Newman. He has to be Wayne Knight for a moment. Which, by the way, the New Jersey Devils did a David Putty bobblehead last week. I think I need to make it a new mission to just come up with every Seinfeld-related bobblehead in sports now. I'm going to try to acquire somehow. If only I knew a Devils fan who could have gone to a game. But who knows a Devils fan outside of our editor Darren? Let's continue. West Michigan, Ben, a fan food vote is on tap for West Michigan. We're starting to get toward that time of the promotional calendar release thing as well. We're kind of get through the actual promo calendar release, and then you start to get into the granular elements of it. The Whitecaps are having fans vote on a food item, one of which is deep fried jelly beans. They have one called Marge's Donut Sundae, Tidal Wave, which is coated in Fruity Pebbles and rolled in cotton candy, Twinkie the Pig, which appears to be a deep-fried Twinkie wrapped in bacon, and Unicorn Popcorn, which is some mix of popcorn and cotton candy and a whole bunch of other stuff. They're very heavy on the sugar with these options.
Yeah, okay, that was my takeaway here. I mean, first of all, the Whitecaps have been, making food news in the minor leagues for essentially the entire time I've been on this beat, and they've been doing it just this way. Step one, getting fan suggestions. Step two, then unrolling 10 finalists, that they've actually made, that they actually have determined they could serve at the ballpark.
Yeah, this isn't concept art.
Yeah, all of these things exist, and one of the 10 will be, on the menu in 2019. And they've been doing this every year for over a decade. The one that got the most attention way back when was the Fifth Third Burger. It was such a simpler time, but if you recall, the Fifth Third Burger in 2008 or so just became this massive viral thing. And it does seem like a simpler time, doesn't it? Like this big hamburger, people were going nuts, and I feel like these days a big hamburger, people would be like, so
what else is on it?
Yeah, what else? Yeah, what else you got? And but it's interesting. This is my my feelings, and I don't have hard evidence to back this up, but just based on my observations as a man who lives in this world every day. One, teams are not doing the oversized grotesqueries nearly as much as they used to.
That does seem like it's kind of passed by.
I think that phase is over. I think it got attention, but it didn't really translate to ballpark sales much at all, and I think teams just kind of decided it wasn't worth it, and maybe the public just got a little burned out on that. In general too, I don't think food is just in general getting as much attention. Of course, food will always get attention, and of course ballpark food is something fans are always going to be excited about and have as one of their main reasons for going to a ball game, or something they really enjoy about it. But I mean, ballpark food's not getting attention in the same way it used to in terms of teams introducing new or crazy or weird stuff and just getting attention, not just the oversized things, but that's just my guess. I don't see it as big a thing as it used to be in terms of the attention it gets. But that said, food will always get some level of attention, and we're talking about the Whitecaps now. But yeah, Tyler, like you mentioned, there's a lot of sweet stuff on these 10 finalists, and I do feel like teams might be moving away from the big oversized meat heavy items, not that a lot of these don't have meat, but towards more sweet stuff, and kind of that being a new way to kind of separate yourself from the pack. And I'm sure teams noticed when the Erie Seawolves did that cotton candy hot dog last year. I mean, it was disgusting, but it got tons and tons of attention because it was something new. We're always looking for something new. And now we have the Whitecaps with deep fried jelly beans, and with these fruity pebble coated ice cream rolled like a burrito and cotton candy and that sort of stuff. That's not my kind of thing. I'm a savory man, not a sweet man.
Same here.
It's whatever floats your boat.
Well, kind of along those lines, like there are two things on here that I would legitimately order. I mean, and I think that's kind of should be the goal, is something that's not going to be like, oh, it's going to grab your attention but not going to sell, like you said. Like the Oinkarito, which is just pork topped with bacon and cheddar mac and cheese and then rolled into a flour tortilla. It just sounds like really good. Like I like all of those things, or there's the Rocky Balburrito, which is basically just a Philly cheesesteak that they then deep fry. Like I would have one of those easily. Right, and I don't know. I don't know if it's going to win this contest, but
you can vote. You can vote for it.
I can vote, and I don't know which one of those two I'm going to vote for. I'll have to figure that out later. But if I was a team, that's what I would go for. Is like, what are people actually going to order? Not just what looks cool on this page, and then one person at a game will get it.
Right, absolutely. There are business decisions here, but this one's up to the people. Sam, you're at times a pretty serious guy. You always look at me in the office and roll your eyes and can't believe I said something stupid. Yeah. So I'm just saying that to observe that I can't imagine you anywhere but in minor league ballpark and just being like, I'll have the Oinkarito, please.
Of course I'll get that.
I feel like that's beneath your dignity.
That is not whatsoever beneath my dignity.
Okay, Sam.
Having something that's pork with bacon and cheddar mac and cheese, like that's literally what I had last Saturday for dinner.
But it was not called an Oinkarito?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't wrapped in a tortilla in this way. That's what I'm saying. I want to, this is when I go to barbecue places, I get the pulled pork and I get mac and cheese on the side. And this is all of that together, which is fantastic.
And it's called an Oinkarito.
And it's called an Oinkarito. I don't care what it's called. I've ordered weird things, none of which are coming to mind right now, but I'll think of them for next week.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it.
There was also an announcement today on the tweets from the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, who will take the field as the Binghamton Stud Muffins on June 14th at 7:05, which is kind of one of those what might have been nights. That was one of the names in the running when they renamed their franchise. It is an extremely brandiose logo in which there's a flexing muffin coming out of the muffin paper. The word mark is very Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs to me. It's stud muffins, but it's got like the iron rivets in it, which I find interesting. But this is something that's really, that's been a while that teams have been doing these what might have been kind of nights, which I love. I think they're great to explore the alternate world identities. Stud muffins is probably the weirdest of the ones that were out there for Binghamton.
Yeah, and I think, the rivets in the stud muffin lettering, are some form of stud, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would think so.
I'm no hardware buff, but
I don't remember the reasoning behind this name, because Brandiose ties all of the wacky name suggestions either strongly or loosely to the location where the team is. I don't remember what Stud Muffins was. There's a
I don't remember
connection?
It. I don't remember the actual explanation. Sam is Googling right now. We might find it. But obviously this was one that got a lot of attention when there was a Name the Team contest. And, what could have been nights, they've been going strong for a decade now. And, an interesting thing about them is, when teams announce their finalists, usually with the company they're working on a logo with, which in recent years often has been Brandiose. Usually Brandiose, or whatever the logo design company is sketching out concepts for every single one of the finalists. So when you do a what could have been night, you probably already have pre-existing logos that were made just during the brainstorming process that just need to be tweaked a little bit. Probably the work in a lot of cases has already been done. Now Sam has found the answer here to the stud muffin rationale, why it wasn't the name the team contest. And this is quote, while tipping a cap to the players on the field, the stud muffins celebrate the collection of carousel horses belonging to Binghamtonians.
So the whole reason they went with Rumble Ponies was to celebrate the
wasn't that
carousel.
the same thing?
Yeah. So the pun here is on stud, I guess. So this logo, what you say is probably true about usually it's just recycled logos that they developed anyways. I don't think this plays into that whatsoever. I feel like this was developed specifically for this because they can't just do another horse thing.
You're right. So they
can't do a horse muffin.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that.
For many reasons. But,
yeah.
I feel like they had to develop something different for this one because if they were the actual stud muffins first go around, there's your carousel pun. It would have. I'm sure it would have been something with like a horse looking like a muffin or a muffin. I don't know, one of the two.
Yeah, who knows what could have been?
What could have been? I don't think this is it though. I think this is just like, hey, remember this from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and Tim Tebow played with Binghamton last year. He'll probably be in Las Vegas this year, AAA. Syracuse. Excuse me. Yes, AAA Syracuse. But who knows? What if he's a member of Binghamton once again on June 14th? Because the internet will love if Tim Tebow is a stud muffin. Yeah, they'll love it.
That is true. Listed on the email is BTS update, but I don't even know what that acronym is.
BTS is actually a backronym. It's the Korean the K-pop band that we talked about
the
before.
K-pop thing. I was thinking of it as the Army. I forgot the acronym before. Right.
Yeah.
BTS Army.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
We talked about BTS earlier, and I don't have too much to say really. If you heard the podcast, was it last week we were talking about, or 2 weeks ago? The Chattanooga Lookouts put out a billboard celebrating the birthday of one of BTS's members. The tweet blew up hugely. Even me quote tweeting the tweet and saying I didn't know what it was about led to a huge response to my tweet. I then wrote a blog post that came out last Friday, kind of explaining what I learned after tweeting BTS and putting the whole kind of saga together to the extent I knew it. It got another great response by the BTS Army, and I'd encourage you to read that blog post to learn about BTS. And I'm very curious about other teams who might celebrate BTS. There's another member's birthday coming up in March. That's a Suga, is in March, and I hope some teams decide to celebrate Suga's birthday. It was J-Hope, whose birthday was last month or earlier this month, and what I've learned, and I've said this before, but it was just reinforced with this blog, is the BTS Army are just full of love and support, kindness and empathy. They're like an alternate internet where everyone tries to understand where the other person is coming from, and just like be loving and supportive and explain what they know that can help that other person. So I've been welcomed to the BTS Army fold, and I'm just like really taken with the whole thing. It's like a better world is possible, and the BTS Army is showing us the way. They are playing at Giant Stadium on May 18th, and I really want to go to that show. I also want to see Guided by Voices that night, so I'm probably the only person in America who's deciding whether to see BTS or Guided by Voices, but these are my problems. Anyway, check out the blog and join the BTS Army, or at least if you're BTS Army curious, look into it because it's a really interesting world, and I'm glad that the Chattanooga Lookouts have opened up that world to me a little bit.
I feel awful that I forgot the acronym, but I feel like they're the most forgiving people possible in this circumstance.
They are not. Okay. I can guarantee 100%. You, Tyler, they are not mad.
Sorry.
They are not mad at you, and you don't have to apologize.
And they are very happy to explain to you what BTS is.
Okay, good. Sorry, Sam, I also jumped in and cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, like, even if we don't get people to listen to BTS, because I still haven't heard a song of theirs, at least adopt their internet persona that Ben was talking about. Like, just going through the mentions of this, and like every tweet starts with "Thank you for writing this," is just fascinating. I'm not saying we should be thanked for writing or anything like that, but just the idea of when you see something and you like it, expressing that as your first go-to instead of, hey, this is awful, is really telling in today's internet, and really fascinating.
It is. It's such a breath of fresh air. I had one woman who responded and said, I love when journalists write about BTS, like in a process of learning about BTS. And she sent like 5 links of other people like me who wrote about BTS after being like, wow, this is a crazy phenomenon. I had people send me their favorite songs and explain why. One was about the loneliest whale in the world. It was a B-side. I liked that. Yeah, I liked that song. There were people who, asked earnest questions based upon my writing. There were people who said they were baseball fans, and this is like the best crossover they can imagine, BTS and baseball, and minor league baseball specifically. So if you're a minor league baseball team, celebrate BTS, man. Those fans are intense, and they are nationwide, and might not sell out the park, but you're going to bring some fans, and they are going to tweet about it, and you are going to get your name out there. guaranteed within an atmosphere cocooned with love and kindness and just a mutual support for Korea's #1 boy band.
I like it. And as we discussed in our opening segment, Sam joined the Verified Lounge today. Benjamin Hill also joined the Verified Lounge today, and it's my pleasure to welcome both of you in. How does it feel today? We're going to celebrate verification celebration as it was laid out to me in the email.
Yeah, Sam and we're getting steaks after this podcast taping.
Yes,
yeah.
These smoking jackets are very comfortable.
Yeah.
There's a steakhouse right across the street from what will soon not be, but still is, the home of MILB.com. You could just have them walk. I think they have to walk them over if they know you're verified. They have to hand deliver them. They cut them and feed them to you. Yeah,
I mean, the world is ours now. I joined Twitter in 2009, and my whole full-time career has been encompassed in that 10 years. And for whatever reason, it took until today. Sam was the one who broke the news, and I tried to keep my emotions in check, but I need a little time alone to just process this new era of my life I'm in, and to think about all the moments that led up to me finally being legitimized in the eyes of Twitter and therefore everyone who knows me through Twitter. I'm finally real. I'm finally verified, and I'm finally ready to be the best Ben's Biz I can be now that I have that blue check mark. So thank you very much.
2019, big things coming, that means. Benjamin Hill is on Twitter with the check mark next to his name at Ben's Biz. The blog is bensbiz.mlblogs.com, and Ben, we'll do it again next week. Thanks, man.
I look forward to it. We're all verified.
It's amazing. We should just never let unverified people on this show again.
No, let's not. It's a very small window.
And that's not the
Fine,
way.
Sam.
Yeah, there are low-level prospects that I want to talk to in the future who may not be
that's
verified.
All
Yet.
right.
Never forget the little guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, guys. You had like 6 opportunities, or when you edit this, you have like 6 different places. You're like,
Where I can
get
cut
it
it
there,
off.
or there, or there, or there,
Or here.
maybe there, or here. Yeah, cut it there.
I might
here,
do it.
this, right there, that one.
I might do it right here. Saying goodbye from the Verified Lounge. They're bringing in the cigars and the bourbon, the scotch, the
Whichever you'd like, really.
whatever you like. It's all here.
Yeah.
It's all here in the Verified Lounge. It is not. In fact, It makes you think, why is so much of my self-worth tied into the fact that this terrible website decided to give me a check mark? But hey, it's a cross that we bear now. Sam Dykstra is on Twitter at Sam Dykstra MILB. You can find him there. Benjamin Hill is at Ben's Biz. I am at Tyler Mon. And what's the mood like around the offices these days? We're getting into the slowly waking up from the offseason. We're starting to do the Cactus League and Grapefruit League roundups every day, where we write up what top prospects have done. I've never been around. I have never worked in the office. What's it like when we start getting to this stage of the year?
I mean, it's just fun to get like the feature ideas, the juices flowing on those. There's so much more when it's like games are actually happening, and instead of like, what are you going to be doing in spring? We talk so much more about something you're seeing in spring training, or, a guy like Nick Senzel playing center field. Like, now it's no longer what are the Reds going to do with him? We actually have answers. Okay, how does that pivot our coverage? What should we be doing on stuff like that? That stuff I get really excited about. Just having new things to talk about is energizing in its own way. I hope that comes across in the podcast, but just the mood here is it's fun to have. We're a sports office, obviously. We have many TVs. It's just nice to look up and see baseball on the TV every day at this point.
That is true.
And just be around that. It is winter in New York still here. It was a high of like 26 degrees. So if we're not getting our vitamin D from the actual outside, at least we can get it from baseball being played somewhere on our screens. So, things are a little bit bouncier here. We're out of the doldrums of the off season and starting to plan our opening night content this year, which is exciting. And, you can feel the engine really picking up now around here.
And Happy Nolan Arenado extension to all of you.
Did you say that into a mirror when you said that?
No, I know everyone wants to share in my joy, Sam. How dare you?
Looked at yourself and then gave yourself a wink as you said that. I know how you play.
He's Sam Dykstra. I'm Tyler Vaughn. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of The Show Before the Show. We'll talk to you next week.